Good morning, all you lemon lovers out there. Do I have a recipe for you? If you like lemons, that is, and brownies. Today I'm going to show you how to make lemon brownies. And I love baking brownies because it's kind of like one-stop shopping. Once the batter is done and the brownies are in the oven, you are finished. Unlike cookies that you have to put a couple of pans in the oven back and forth. So before we actually make the batter, we're going to do a little bit of prep work. So I have my 8x8 Pyrex pan dish that I use for brownies. And I have a lemon, of course, a zester or a grater, you'll need that, something to squeeze your lemon juice out of, a little bit of butter, and some wax paper. So first things first, I'm going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Then I'm going to take, I love wax paper, remember? I'm going to take a little piece of wax paper and I'm going to crunch it up into like a little pocket. Take a little bit of butter. You can use some baking spray if you want to. I prefer actual real butter. I'm not really big on the chemicals that are in some baking spray and it flying all over into the air in my face. So there, I've got my pan all greased. So I'm going to set that aside for later. It's all done. Now I'm going to zest the whole lemon, and I want to get as much off of it as possible because half of it is going to be used in the batter and another half is going to be used on top of the glaze once the brownies are all baked. So remember, zesting a lemon is rubbing back and forth over the grater, whatever you're using, until you get down to the white rind. So I'm going to do that, and then once I have that zested, I'm going to cut it and I'm going to squeeze and get all the juice out. So I'll be right back to show you how much zest is off in one lemon. Be right back. So I've zested my lemon, and from one whole lemon, that's how much zest I was able to get. And I don't know if you can see that, but there is my lemon juice. So I'm going to need that both for the batter and for the glaze on top. All right, so now we're going to move over to my mixer. Normally I don't use my mixer for these videos because at school for baking club, we don't have a mixer for everyone to use. But today I'm going to because I want my eggs and my butter to have a nice fluffy texture. So if you don't have a mixer, you would want to use beaters. And if you don't have either, then you're gonna have to use your good old arm power and really, really whip the butter and the sugar and the eggs together. So let's go over to my mixer. Okay, so we're beside my best friend now in the kitchen, my mixer. And the first thing that I'm going to add to my mixture is the butter. And this recipe calls for 1/2 cup of softened butter. So you can measure the butter in a measuring cup if you want to, or you can just simply cut it into the 1/2 cup measurement like I've shown you in previous videos. So I'm going to plop that in to my mixer. And then I'm going to set the butter aside. There. Wipe my hands off. Okay, the next thing that we need for this recipe right now is 3/4 cup of white sugar. A little bit more. Sometimes I find sugar hard to measure when it's a complete container, like I just filled it up. Okay, so I have 3/4 cup of sugar into my mixer. And I'll just cover that and set it over there. Now, I have to take half of my zest. So I haven't measured it out. I'm simply going to eyeball it and take half of it and put it in my mixing bowl. And then I'm going to set the other half aside, and that's for the topping of the glaze. All right, so I want to mix this butter, sugar, and lemon zest really well so that the sugar and the butter are fully incorporated and mixed in. So I finished beating my butter and sugar and lemon zest. And so that's what it looks like right now. And boy, can you ever smell the lemon. It smells really, really good. So now the recipe calls for 2 eggs, and we're going to add 1 egg at a time, beat it, and then I'm going to use my scraper. Can you tell I love Pampered Chef? This is my skinny scraper. And I'm going to scrape it down and then add the other one. Try not to get any shells, as always. And we want this to be light and fluffy when all the eggs are added. So I will show you when it's done. So that is what my batter looks like now that I have added the eggs. And I beat it with my mixer for almost 5 minutes until it was nice and fluffy and it's a really pretty yellow color. So now I'm going to add the lemon juice. So this recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. The thing I love about this lemon juicer, squeezer, also Pampered Chef, is that it has a spout right there. I don't know if you can see it. And then it has the little teeth that's going to prevent if there were any pulp pieces that I don't want that came through. So I'm just going to pour it into the tablespoon. And then I'm going to empty it into my mixer. And I'm just going to give that a little mix so that it's incorporated. And then we just simply have 2 more ingredients to add, and that's it. Our brownie batter is done. Okay, I switched out my flour and my sugar, so this is flour, not sugar. The sugar was there before. And this recipe calls for a 3/4 cup of flour. So normally you'll see me take my dry ingredients and put them in a separate bowl. For this one, I'm not going to do that for the sole fact that I only have 2 dry ingredients, that and some baking powder. And then I'm going to, or 2 ingredients, and then I'm going to beat it really well with my mixer. So I know that my baking powder and my flour are going to be evenly incorporated in the mixing. So there's my 3/4 cup of flour. Empty that in. So a half a teaspoon of baking powder. And I didn't measure it over the batter, remember not to do that. Okay, that's in. Close that up. And now I'm going to raise my paddle, my mixer, and I'm going to mix this until it's really, really well incorporated. I'll end up scraping it down a couple of times, I'm sure, but I want to make sure that the batter is nice and smooth. But like regular normal brownie batter, it's going to be quite thick because these are rich brownies. It's not like a cake batter that's a little bit runny. You can tell I've increased the speed of my mixer. I'm going to, in a bit, I'm going to stop it and I'm going to scrape it down and then I will mix again. So I'll be right back. So there you have it. My lemon brownie batter is completed. That's what it looks like. So you can tell that I've gotten all of the butter lumps out. It's nice and smooth. I scraped it down a couple of times. In total, I probably beat it for 3 to 4 minutes. And then stopping a little bit to scrape it down. So now it's time to get it into our brownie pan. So you're definitely going to want to use a spatula or a scraper for this next step because the batter is quite thick and you're going to have to scrape it out of your bowl. And it's a really pretty yellow. By the time you add the lemon zest, the butter, and the eggs, the yolk and the eggs, it makes it a really pretty yellow. And it kind of brings back memories of the little cakes that I would bake in my Easy Bake Oven. I don't know if any of you adults out there remember the Easy Bake Ovens, and I'm not sure if kids still play with them, but I can remember baking little cakes and the cakes looking very, very similar to this color. So it brings back some nice memories. So I'm going to spread it along the bottom of my brownie pan. And these are going to be really, really rich brownies, I can tell. Okay, so there I have it. Now I'm going to pop this in my oven. The recipe calls for 20 to 24 minutes. I always set it for the lesser time, 20 minutes, and then I will keep an eye on it, and I will take a toothpick at the end of the 20 minutes, and if it comes out clean, then I know it's done. If not, I need to add a little bit more time. So we will take a look at them when they are baked. See you in a bit. Okay, so the brownies have baked, and I ended up baking them for the 20 minutes. I found that I didn't need any longer in my oven, and you'll notice that they're nicely browned around the edge, and they are ready to be glazed. So this glaze is very simple. All you need is some icing sugar, some of the freshly squeezed lemon juice, and then we're going to use a little bit of the lemon zest to sprinkle on top. So you know how much I dislike measuring icing sugar, and I usually eyeball it, but I'm going to put my big girl pants on, and I am going to measure, even though it's messy. So there's 3/4 cup of icing sugar. Remember, this isn't a frosting, it's a glaze, so we don't need any butter. Set that aside. And then the recipe calls for 1.5 tablespoons of the lemon juice. So this is actually a tablespoon measurement, and then 4 teaspoons. And so I'm going to fill it all. There's the tablespoon, and there we go. And I have a little bit left over in case I need more. So I want this to spread nice and evenly over my brownies. Kind of have it in my mind what I want it to look like. So I don't want it to be thick, because a glaze is a little bit runnier than frosting. Okay, so you will notice that that's nice and runny. I actually think that is the perfect amount. So I let my brownies cool for about 15 minutes because I don't want my glaze to totally dissolve and melt into the brownie cake itself. So it's cool to, I can pick up my pan. So I think we're good to go. Okay, so I'm going to take my scraper again, and I'm going to scrape off my spoon. I want to make sure that all of the glaze gets onto these brownies. And I like this small batter bowl because I can pour it right out holding the handle. So I'm pouring, I think you can see this. So I'm pouring and scraping at the same time. And then I'm going to take my spatula and I'm just going to smooth the glaze over so that it reaches the whole surface of the brownies. I'm thinking these are not only going to taste good, but they're going to be really pretty. Something about glaze, it just makes everything more attractive. Just like so smooth. There's still a little bit of heat coming through on the brownies. That makes it smoother. Okay, I'll hold this up so you can see. So can you see how nice and smooth that is? Now, final step. I've got half of the lemon zest left over, and I'm just going to take the lemon zest and I'm going to sprinkle it, and try not to let it clump up too much. You want to sprinkle that over the glaze so that when you bite into each brownie after they are cut, you're going to get a little zip, a little tang, a little zest. So pretty. And the zest is kind of sinking down into, I'm going to change the camera around here in a second so you can see it. It's sinking down into the glaze, which gives it a nice little marbling effect. Okay, and there, the brownies, the lemon brownies are done. So I am not going to cut these right away. I want my glaze to really set so that when I cut them, the glaze has a little bit of a hardness to it. And when you bite in, then you get the softness. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to show you what the brownies look like. There you have it. There is the finished product of the lemon brownies with the zest on top. And I think they look so pretty and it smells delicious. And after the brownies set, we'll come back and we'll cut them and give them a little taste. Be back in a bit. Okay, I have let my brownies set for a bit and the glaze is totally nicely hardened. And so I'm going to take my knife and let's try a little brownie. First brownie is always the most difficult to get out without mangling it. Oh, so can you tell that it's a nice buttery kind of yellow and the glaze on top has stayed intact? And I'm going to try a little piece. Okay, that's just like a little piece of heaven. Oh my goodness. I can easily see how this is going to become one of my favorite go-to snacks. So there you have it, guys. Lemon brownies, the perfect treat for this Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there, and everyone take care. Bye-bye.